Welcome to another episode of Let's Talk About Clutter. I'm your host, Margo, a professional organizer specializing in chronic clutter. And as a single mom and dog mama from New York, I know firsthand how overwhelming clutter can be. Between juggling work, kids, and pets, it feels like there's just never enough time to get everything done. There are probably days when you feel like the mess is taking over and you don't even know where to start. And this can be incredibly paralyzing, and it feels impossible to even get started. But I'm here to tell you, you don't have to tackle it all at once, which is why in this podcast, I'm going to walk you through 5 simple decluttering tips that are so easy and actionable. You can get started right away and feel a little more at peace and in control of your space. So if you've ever felt overwhelmed, if you've ever taken in the big picture of your home and felt like there is just so much to do and really felt completely and utterly debilitated to even get started, these 5 simple decluttering tips are for you if you're feeling overwhelmed in your space. Let's jump into tip number 1. And I find that working with clients especially, one of the best ways to get started when you are feeling overwhelmed is to simply toss 1 to 5 random items a day. You are probably thinking, Margo, I have way too much stuff, and this whole 1 to 5 random items a day won't even put a dent into it. And you are partially right. Partially in that when you are feeling like there is just way too much to do, chances are you're probably not decluttering at all. So you are not doing anything. So starting with 1 to 5 items a day, while it's not a massive transformation, it will for sure help you get unstuck. And I find that in my experience, personal, and again, working with a lot of folks, it's that the hardest thing is to get started. And I know that once you get started, what you'll find is that you will want to continue. A lot of times, those feelings of overwhelm come before we actually take action. And think about a time in your life when maybe you found a project or even something at work or tackling something at home or with your partner or your kids. You found something to be like, oh my God, super overwhelming. You're now procrastinating, of course, which is what we do when we feel overwhelmed. But once you actually start doing it, you're like 2 hours in and you're like, oh my God, this was not that bad. Like, why didn't I do this earlier? So this first tip of 1 to 5 items a day is exactly that. It's a nice, easy, low stress way to get started to demonstrate to you that it's not actually overwhelming and that you can do it. And let's be real, 1 item a day is 365 items a year. 5 items a day, you ready for this? If I did my math right, is 1,825 items per year. Now, these 1 to 5 items typically are surface and visual clutter. It's not specific to a room or a category, but rather the more I like to look at it as like the spot and toss method. So you essentially see a random item in your home, a loose wire, a trinket from 10 years ago, maybe an empty bottle of shampoo, and you simply toss it. These are 1-second decisions. If you are finding yourself pondering, like you're listening to this podcast, and my hope is as you're listening, maybe you're at home, right? Maybe you're doing your Sunday cleaning and you like look at your bookshelf and you're like, oh my God, that item has got to go. So my hope is you walk over to that shelf, pick up the item and get rid of it. If you find yourself, when we're doing these 1 to 5 items a day, if you find yourself getting stuck on an item, then it defeats the purpose, right? So just keep the item and keep it moving. 1 to 5 items should be easy, quick decisions. I am certain there are dozens, if not hundreds of items around your home right now that are easy trash tosses. Bye-bye. I don't feel bad. It's got to go. This method is especially great for you if you feel paralyzed. Like if you think about there's just so much, there's a lot of clutter in, the kitchen countertop has a ton of stuff, the living room, the master bedroom, the closet. Oh my God, don't even get me started. closet. And for these 1 to 5 random tosses, you really don't even have to open up any drawers. I mean, this is really surface visual. You're flying through your living room, you spot and you toss. Even if it's like if you have pets. So for example, my dog Coffee will be playing with something and, she's a large breed. So she's a chocolate lab pit mix. So anytime we get her a brand new toys, she literally destroys it in probably 30 seconds, right? So if you even have a dog toy laying in the middle of the living room and it's completely chewed up and the insides are missing, the squishy is missing, the eyes are gone, just pick it up and declutter it. It could be that easy. It does not require a lot of thought and it does not require a lot of effort. But what this will do is build your confidence and demonstrate to you that you can do this. Decluttering is not as overwhelming as we perceive it to be in the beginning. So let me know if you can think of at least one item in your home you can toss right now. Then go toss it. And you can even reach out to me on Instagram at Be Good to Yourself by Margo and let me know what that item was. Let's move on to number 2. We are leveling up just a little bit, but again, we're still keeping it low stress levels on the declutter-o-meter. I don't know. I love declutter-meter. I think it sounds so much fun. All right, so number 2 is a fun little game called Beat the Clock. And yes, I know, shocking, but decluttering can actually be a lot of fun. It could also be fun for your kids. So what you're going to do here is you're going to set a timer for 5 minutes and you're going to go on a clutter hunt. And this is why I say it's great to do with your kids. This is something I did with my daughter when she was very young, except I did 60 seconds, not 5 minutes. And you set a timer for 5 minutes, and it's very similar to the 1 to 5 items a day. So there are a lot of hitchhikers around your home begging to be decluttered. So the magazines sitting on your coffee table, old makeup, hair products, and maybe those dried up highlighters. So you're going to set a timer for 5 minutes. You're going to grab a bag or a box or a bin, whatever. And you're going to run around your home finding items that are easy trash decisions for 5 minutes. And this is incredibly fun and it is incredibly motivating. And again, if you have kids, if you have partners, if you have roommates, it's really just a fun way to get rid of a bunch of stuff. Just like with 1 to 5 items, for this 5-minute beat the clock, typically these items are on surfaces. So the dining room table, the counter, the bathroom sink, shelves, and on top of the dressers. Obviously, there are hidden items too. So in case you are feeling brave, right, and you want to take a quick peek in your pantry, go ahead and do so. I also find that a pantry is a great first place to start too if you're feeling overwhelmed because of the decision fatigue is not as intense there. And when I say low decision fatigue, it's that I'm not saying literally go through every single item, but in general, there are items that have expired. There are items that you're not going to eat, that are not good, that your family doesn't eat. So those should be easy trash decisions. And again, everything you collect should be an easy toss. If you hesitate, leave it. Don't bother wasting time and move on to something else. All right, leveling up a little bit. Again, all of these tips should be low stress to get you started. So when I first began my decluttering journey, the sheer amount of stuff for me was incredibly paralyzing. And the key to overcoming this, and this is something I preach in my group coaching program and with all of my one-on-one clients, is I am a firm believer in sprints over marathons. So number 3 is to start small. Refrain from taking in the big picture. A room is a huge undertaking. So I don't want you thinking like, I'm going to declutter the entire kitchen. Because geez Louise, right? Especially since the kitchen is like the highest traffic area in the house and tends to get cluttered very, very quickly. It's overwhelming, which is why don't think about the whole kitchen, right? We're going to start small. Instead, pick a single drawer or a small category of items. This can be where you keep your utensils. It could be a small section of a dresser drawer, or even a few items of clothing hanging out in a pile on your bedroom floor. You will be amazed at how accomplishing this one small task can boost your motivation to tackle more. And clearing out just one space can be a huge difference. So right now, just look around your space, or the next time you're home, look around. I don't know, maybe you're listening to this podcast in your car. By the way, you can also declutter little bits and pieces here in the car as well. But next time you're at home, just literally any room you walk into, just look around, and spot one small thing. Maybe it's a bin, maybe it's a shelf, maybe it's a half a shelf if you feel that's more manageable. And all you're tackling is just that. It typically should not take you more than 10 to 15 minutes, but you're going to feel so good when you complete that small project. And eventually, the longer you do this, the more you do this, your projects will naturally get bigger and bigger. However, because you've practiced on these small wins, it's actually going to take you much faster to declutter. Let's move on to number 4. So one of the biggest mistakes I see clients make is having zero game plan when working towards a clutter-free home. And a lot of times what happens is they will experience decision fatigue, and maybe you can relate, right? When you have no game plan, decision fatigue, anxiety, stress. It's like, where do I start? What do I do next? I host a free how to create a decluttering plan workshop once a month on Zoom. You can check out more information in the show notes. But the reason I do this is because the number one question I get is, Margo, I'm so overwhelmed. I don't even know where to start. I have so much clutter. I don't know where to start. And even if we start somewhere, we're like, oh crap, where do we go next? Right? So get into the habit of creating a little to-do list. I'm going to walk you through what that looks like. The key here is little, as in it should fit on a Post-it. So what you want to do is you want to write down just a few places you want to declutter. Again, the key here is not to focus on a large area, but just maybe a few small places in a room. So for example, let's say you would love to have your kitchen clutter-free. You can write down something like kitchen drawer number 1, kitchen drawer number 2, cabinet shelf number 1, cabinet shelf number 2, maybe just the refrigerator or the freezer. Creating a little plan, especially if you feel overwhelmed, will eliminate decision fatigue and keep you seeing progress. And number 5, and this one is the most important, especially if you're stuck. Statistically, pairing up with an accountability partner increases your chances of successfully purging your home by, wait for it, 92%. Is that not wild? Like the sheer act of telling, a friend or a family member or a partner that you are going to declutter, you have to make it specific. So I will declutter my dresser, or I will declutter my closet, or I will declutter underneath the kitchen sink, right? Statistically, by you just letting somebody know that you're going to do this, your chances of success go up. Think about this is why, folks hire a personal trainer. This is why personal trainers, when you're trying to, build muscle or lose weight, they're much more effective than just going to the gym, because this person is essentially on you to exercise, right? So accountability, and you want to find the right accountability partner, right? I mean, for it to be successful, you really want to pair up with somebody who's maybe on the same decluttering journey as you, right? Where you can motivate each other, maybe set weekly goals. One of the things that I do with my clients is we set goals every single Monday for the week, and then we kind of reflect back on Friday as to what we've accomplished, right? Or maybe what we're going to accomplish on the weekend. You want to find someone who's actually going to support you on your journey. You want to find someone who's like your cheerleader and is like, so did you get things done? You don't want to just tell somebody I'm going to declutter blank and then you don't hear from them. I mean, that's not going to work. An accountability partner is incredibly effective, but it's also about having the right accountability partner. And of course, you can always hire me as a decluttering coach, because that is what I do, right? I support, I motivate, I help my clients overcome barriers and challenges that come up. I help my clients with decision fatigue. And most importantly, keep them accountable to the goals that they set for their home. So the point is that we feel less stressed and overwhelmed when we have someone in our corner, someone we can let know what we want to declutter, and then of course, someone who's going to keep us accountable. And for more information on what it's like to work with me as a decluttering coach, I'll leave a link in the show notes. So I want you to remember that decluttering does not have to be overwhelming. If you start small, if you stay consistent, And this is something I didn't mention in the 5 quick tips, but you want to also make sure that you're celebrating your progress. That becomes positive reinforcement. And our brains love positive reinforcement, right? You decluttered something, you decluttered a drawer, and then you rewarded yourself. And it could be a pat on the back. It could be like a celebratory woohoo, whatever. If you have an accountability partner, it's having them celebrate with you. Maybe it's a teeny tiny reward that you set for yourself. Maybe you're somebody who's currently on a diet and you allow yourself like a piece of cake or ice cream or something at the end of the week. Set that as a reward for completing a decluttering project. So I hope this episode helped you really feel like there's a light at the end of the tunnel, that even though you're feeling overwhelmed now, just by merely starting, right? Just start. That's the most important thing, is to just start, whether it's with 1 item a day or 5 minutes or tackling a small project. Just start. I hope one of these 5 tips resonated with you. As always, good luck on your decluttering journey. Thank you so much for listening. And remember to be good to yourself.